If you think you already know how the story of ice and fire ends, guess again, because the winds of winter are blowing.
Lord Commander Snow sent him away to save his life, he began hesitantly. He spoke awkwardly of King Stannis and Melisandre of Ashai, intending to stop at that, but one thing led to another, and he found himself speaking of Mance Rayder and his wildlings, king's blood and dragons, and before he knew what was happening, all the rest came spilling out. The Whites at the Fist of the First Men, the other on his dead horse, the murder of the Old Bear at Craster's Keep, Gilly and their flight, White Tree and Small Paul, Cold Hands and the Ravens, Jon's becoming Lord Commander, the Blackbird, Daron, Bravos, the dragons Zondo saw and Karth, the Cinnamon Wind, and all that Maester Aemon whispered toward the end. He held back only the secrets he was sworn to keep about Bran Stark and his companions and the babes Jon Snow had swamped. Daenerys is the only hope, he concluded. Aemon said the Citadel must send her a maester at once to bring her home to Westeros before it is too late. Alleras listened intently. He blinked from time to time, but never laughed and never interrupted. When Sam was done, he touched him lightly on the forearm with a slim brown hand and said, "Save your penny, Sam. Theobald will not believe half of that, but there are those who might. Will you come with me?" "Where?" "To speak with an archmaester."
All right, so Alleras just basically said, "Come with me if you want to live," the famous Terminator line.
Totally did.
Totally what that reminded me of.
Not quite as big and imposing as the Terminator, but he pretty much is like, yeah, you keep talking like that, good way to get yourself dead, son.
Basically, yeah. Come with me to speak with an archmaester. It's like Sam is being indicted to the world of magic. I like that. That's an interesting scene. It's cool.
Inducted. I think you meant inducted.
Inducted is what I mean. Inducted. He's not on trial. He's not being indicted. Yeah, inducted to the world of magic at the Citadel, which is super cool. Yeah, but that gets me so excited for like what's waiting in the Winds of Winter. You know, it's a world of magic awaiting.
You know, that is kind of why we're doing this whole series, isn't it? Because there is so much to get excited about. And the cool thing is when you start looking at all these plot lines, it's not only the first set of stuff, it's like the next set of things. So once you look at the options that are available in a place like Old Town, and it gets you asking the question, well, what comes after that? And it leads you to some pretty interesting places. So, hi, I'm LML. And this is Quinn from Quinn's Ideas.
Hi, guys.
And we are here with most anticipated plotline number 10, Sam the Stealer. Not Sam the Slayer, Sam the Stealer. Because Jon sent Sam to the Citadel to learn about the others, but he doesn't really have time to forge a whole chain. He's there to steal, friends. Exactly. More than likely, he's there to steal some powerful secrets. Could be artifacts, definitely knowledge, books, you know, maybe cool gyro doohickeys like the thing hanging from the ceiling.
All sorts of potential, but I feel like it'll definitely be something related to the others and how to stop them, whatever he does steal, or the knowledge that he acquires.
Yeah, that's the safe bet. That is why he was sent there. And obviously the Citadel is the place. I mean, as far as George's perspective as a writer, it's his mystery box. He can put anything in the Citadel that he can think of. The most interesting book or device or anything, he can hide it in there and it would make sense.
It could be some magical artifact that we've never even heard of. Anything could be in the Citadel.
Anything at all. So that is kind of fun just to see like where that's going to go. And we had the whole episode about the High Towers to talk about, you know, what's going on just with them. But outside of the High Towers, there's just, you know, there's a lot of possibilities here in Old Town.
Yeah. So at the Citadel, Sam has fallen in with Marwyn's group. You got Alleras the Sphinx in the mix, who's secretly Sorella Sand, Leo Tyrell, and then, of course, Pate, who is secretly a faceless man, he is secretly the faceless man that was wearing the face of Jack and Hagar.
Yes, exactly. Who is, of course, none other than the dancing master.
Oh, yeah.
What's his fucking name? Syrio Forel.
Syrio Forel.
We'll see. And then also floating around are Faceless Man Pate's former friends that we saw at the beginning of Feast, Mollander, Rune, and Armin. So they are hanging around too.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how George is. Once he introduces interesting characters like that and gives us a little bit of their backstory, you know, he'll find a useful way to recycle them and use them, I would think.
All right. So Sam will definitely be interested in also the locked vaults at the Citadel, which Pate has already potentially been inside of because he has the key from the beginning of Feast for Crows. So that's interesting.
and yet he's still hanging around. So we're going to talk about that, what he
Still
might be
hanging
up
around.
to. Yeah. And then, of course, Marwyn showing off the glass candle at the end of the chapter, at the end of Feast for Crows, all kinds of cool stuff to talk about there. And then Marwyn booked it for Slaver's Bay. But like I said, they had a very interesting conversation before they did that. And of course, Euron is about to attack.
Euron is very close to Old Town, and he might be attacking with the magical storm, as we discussed in our other episode.
That's right. So there is a lot of stuff about to hit the fan here. And yes, that's why we had to do 3 different Old Town episodes. Originally, we were like, yes, Old Town. Well, that's a good plot line. And then we're like, actually, no, there's the Hightowers and Euron and, of course, Sam. So got to give Sam his proper respect.
Absolutely. So one of our big questions is, how will Sam interact with the cast of characters that's already there in Old Town? And we mentioned some of them. There is, of course, Alleras, who scooped him up from the lobby.
Yep. And we read part of that quote. The rest of it is pretty interesting when he walks in there. Sam is basically waiting to get in, and he's given his name to the receptionist, and he's calling everyone else. And Sam's sitting there all day wondering, what the hell, dude? This is like the DMV, only worse. And then Alleras or whichever way you want to say it, he sneaks up behind him and he's like, you need to slip Lorcas a penny or you'll be waiting here 3 days.
Yeah.
So like, very coy, sort of slips up and be like, hey man, it's not how this works.
Yeah.
And he starts
bureaucracy. Got to learn how to get past this, Sam. Got to slip some cash their way.
Yeah. And that's sort of that's emblematic of the whole thing. Like Sam's trying to go in the front door. He's like, whoa. Don't talk about all that. Don't just like run your mouth about the others and all this stuff. He's like, why don't you come here? Let's talk to the Archmaester. So it's a good thing they saw Sam coming, but of course they did because they have a glass candle.
And it's curious too, like how much Sam stands out. He's like obviously very naive, and it points out in that like same section, like, oh, you just look like you're noble born. Like I can smell it on you. I can see it. It's wafting off of you, basically. So yeah, Sam stands out in the Citadel, and he's kind of vulnerable in that sense. He's kind of up for manipulation.
He's like a babe, he's like a Bambi in the meadow, pretty much.
Yeah.
So Marwyn did explain once they got to see Marwyn. He of course explains what's going on. The Maesters have a clear anti-magic agenda, and you can't just go around talking about magic stuff. And he talks about, who do you think killed the dragons last time and all that kind of thing.
One of my favorite like little sections when he's, insinuating that the Maesters at the Citadel had something to do with the dance, perhaps, and the death of the dragons.
Yeah, that's like one of those stares into camera moment. Like, who do you think?
Dun, dun, dun. Exactly. So I mentioned Sam being highborn earlier and it standing out, but one way him being highborn could be potentially useful is that it would help him to be able to connect with Leo better. And there's a quote about this.
Yeah, totally. It's a very serious quote. At the top of the steps, a pale blonde youth about Sam's age sat outside a door of oak and iron, staring intently into a candle flame with his right eye. His left eye was hidden beneath a fall of ash blonde hair. What are you looking for? Alleras asked him. Your destiny? Your death? The blonde youth turned from the candle blinking. Naked women, he said. Oh, no, that's not the... We've got a different quote. I'm sorry. That is a fun one, though. No, the other quote was...
Device.
Yeah, why don't you hit this one? So this is actually Sam thinking about Leo's history as he meets him here.
All right, so here's the other quote. Sam knew him, Leo Tyrell. Saying the name made him feel as if he were still a boy of 7, about to wet his small clothes. I am Sam from Horn Hill, Lord Randall Tarley's son. Truly? Leo gave him another look. I suppose you are. Your father told us that you were dead. Or was it that he wished you were? He grinned. Are you still a craven? No, lied Sam. John had made it a command. I went beyond the wall and fought in the battles. They call me Sam the Slayer. He did not know why he said it. The words just tumbled out. So that's cool. It seems like he's already opening up to Leo a bit.
He is, and
right on out.
And there's an interesting insight on Sam's psyche there. Like, John told him to say he's not Craven, and so Sam thinks he's lying when he says no. But of course, Sam isn't Craven. He is very brave. He just doesn't.
He survived a lot, right? He's shown a lot more resilience than I think a lot of people thought he ever had.
Yeah, he's just, you can just see how internalized the narrative is about him with him and his dad. And in fact, I've got a different quote at the bottom of the doc that I'll just grab now. It's sort of a poignant little passage that just, again, shows Sam's internalized trauma. it says he's watching the novices, and it says a stream of pink-cheeked novices hurried by him toward the septry. I should have come here when I was their age, Sam thought. If I had run off and taken a false name, I could have disappeared among the other novices. Father could have pretended that Dickon was his only son. I doubt he would even have trouble to search for me unless I took a mule to ride. Then he would have hunted me down, but only for the mule.
See, really sad, and I know somebody might get mad at this, but it really just shows you how, like, the dangers of, like, toxic masculinity, because, you know, you have Sam's dad who's all about, you know, you gotta hunt and be like sword fighting, and Sam's like, I just want to, like, maybe be a maester and learn about stuff, and that's unacceptable to his father. And, you know, Sam has all of this trauma, and he's got all of this pain inside because of that. It's really sad to see him have such a low opinion on himself when he's really, like, an awesome dude.
And that directly contrasts with Jon when he talks to Maester Aemon on Sam's behalf in A Game of Thrones. And he makes the point that, like, not everybody's good at everything, but we need somebody to do this, and Sam's good at that, and not everybody can do that. So it's, you know, if Dickon had, not Dickon, but if Randyll Tarly had thought more like that, he would have realized, well, okay, Sam's not the prototypical alpha son, but he's, you know, he could be a maester and make the family proud, and he could have worked out something. I mean, Sam didn't even want to inherit and be the Heartsbane wielding alpha male. So, like, they could have worked something out there. It didn't have to be all broken and stuff, but it was because Randyll Tarly could only see the world through one lens, and he could only see a successful son in one form. And
he's a bad dad, and you can contrast that to Ned Stark.
He's a very bad dad.
Yeah, but you can contrast that to Ned Stark telling Bran that, like, you know, the only time a man can be brave is when he's afraid. You know, but, you know, Sam didn't get that from Randyll.
Right, and that is exactly the type of bravery that Sam shows. He's fixated on the fact that he feels afraid, but he does the thing. He stabbed the White Walker. He went to the two Denny's Mallister and Cotter Pike and made Jon Lord Commander, and he did a lot of brave stuff. So
he did a lot of stuff.
It's one of the only people that have killed a White Walker. So another important point to make here is that because of the fact that Leo and Alleras and anyone else that Marwyn has gathered around him, because they're hanging out with Marwyn, Marwyn's openly talking of everything that he's seeing through the glass candle, which means Leo, Alleras, the Sphinx, they know about the others, they know about the threat, they know about Dany, they know all the stakes that are going on here. And so they may be inclined to help Sam if and when Sam comes up with some sort of plan of action at the Citadel.
Absolutely, especially if Euron is attacking.
Yes, which he will be shortly.
Exactly. So our next big question is, of course, what is up with Pate? Because as we all know,
Pate?
He's not really Pate. So we got a quote here about how Sam interprets Pate. And it says, there was something about the pale, soft youth that he misliked, but he did not want to seem discourteous. So he added, my name is not Slayer. Truly, I am Samwell Tarly. So that's curious. So this is indicative of maybe there's something just slightly off-putting about Pate. There's some indication that he is not quite right. And my thing is, if Sam can pick up on this, then I think the people that knew Pate previously probably can as well, right?
Yeah, because what essentially has happened here, and I just realized this, Jaqen H'ghar killed Pate and then skinned him in Old Town and made a mask out of his face right on the spot and is now wearing it.
Yeah.
That is how he looks exactly like Pate. So yeah, there should be something slightly off about it. You know, like Arya wears the mask of that, you know, little girl when she's in Bravos, but she doesn't run into anybody that knows the little girl.
Yeah.
But if anybody had looked at her hard, yeah, she might have looked weird too.
Yeah, I think if one of my friends that I hung out with like almost every day got replaced suddenly, and it was somebody else wearing their skin, I would know something was off. Even if I didn't know exactly what, there would definitely be something weird about it. So,
and then as we mentioned in the intro, the interesting thing here is that Faceless Man Pate stole the key to, you know, Walgrave's key to the, you know, the locked part of the Citadel where they keep the good books, the Dragon's book. That happened in the prologue of A Feast for Crows. And here we are in the epilogue of A Feast for Crows, and he is still hanging out in Old Town. So stealing that book was not his only mission there. He's clearly up to something else, and that raises the question of what?
He has not gotten exactly what he wants yet. So there's another angle to this. It could involve Sam, right? It could involve Sam and the Night's Watch and, you know, something to do with that. It could potentially involve Euron. there's a lot of stuff that it could potentially involve, but there's definitely something that he's waiting for, maybe something that he doesn't have, something that he needs before he can move on to the next step.
Right. It's basically either he needs to steal something or he needs to kill someone. It's most likely one of those two things. So
Yeah.
He'll probably kill someone that we don't want to die. It would be too convenient if he killed Euron or something. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So all right, so next question is Sam the Stealer, what will he steal?
Yep, and there's a lot of potential. As we mentioned before, there's a lot of stuff that could maybe be at the Citadel. There's all sorts of books, magical knowledge, glass candles potentially, which have various uses, as we said earlier.
So yeah, let's read this glass candle quote. It's pretty awesome. So it's Marwyn talking, and he's saying, "The sorcerers of the Freehold could see across mountains, seas, and deserts with one of these candles. They could enter a man's dream and give him visions, and speak to one another half a world apart, seated before their glass candles. Do you think that might be useful, Slayer? We would have no more need of ravens. Only after battles." The Archmaester peeled a sour leaf off a bale, shoved it in his mouth, and began to chew it. "Tell me all you told our Dornish Sphinx. I know much of it and more, but some small parts may have escaped my notice." So
Yeah.
he's been using that candle.
They're smartphones, basically. Glass candles are basically smartphones.
They are. It's like the CIA's wet dream here, the NSA's wet dream.
It's the ultimate spy device. Yeah, you don't even need like a camera there. You can just look into the glass candle and see.
And I just love how he's like, "Yeah, I pretty much know everything, but go ahead and repeat it in case there's some small part that I may have missed." So
it's like I've already been watching. And before this, we were comparing the glass candle a little bit to the weirwood trees because they're kind of similar in what they can do, like allowing you to see from afar and to look into dreams and be in other people's dreams and stuff like that. So that's curious.
Yeah, it's one of the ways that fire magic and greenseer magic kind of parallel each other. We've noticed that with Melisandre's visions as well.
Yes.
And then as far as symbolism goes, the glass candle is a flame that burns but is not consumed. And that language makes you think of Moses' burning bush. It's a very famous line about the bush that burns but was not consumed. And the burning bush speaks with the voice of God. The glass candle doesn't speak with the voice of God, but it does convey magical power. And if you look at the weirwood, okay, it mostly looks like a tree man with a bleeding face. But there's one time when the red canopy of weirwood leaves is described as a blaze of red flame amongst the green. And so if you think about the red as a fire, now it's like a burning tree. But again, it looks like it's burning forever without being consumed. And that makes even more sense as a burning bush corollary, because the weirwood tree literally does speak with the voice of God. So there's a lot of cool burning bush symbolism with both the glass candle and the weirwood.
Definitely. And then there's also the potential that Sam could maybe steal a weapon from the Citadel, like a sword, perhaps, something else that we don't really know about. So
please, George, give us some new magical talismans.
Yeah, right. That'd be interesting. This talisman protects you from the White Walkers or makes them not able to see. I don't know, some crap like that.
Oh, what about this? He's got the chipped and broken horn, which some people think might be the horn of Jormungand. What if he reads something in a scroll that tells him how to work it or how to fix it or something?
That would be interesting. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Or at least just identifies it so that he knows what he has. That might be
what this is. Yeah. It's like, I know what that is. That's this horn that I found outside the Fist of the First Men that was really old and we didn't know what it was.
So one thing I noticed is that, just a little freebie here. So Samwell obviously parallels very well to Samwise, the faithful from the Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, Samwise accompanies Frodo, and Frodo's dad is Bilbo, or uncle rather, Bilbo the burglar. And so essentially what George did is he took Sam and is now making him the burglar. So it's just sort of a little interesting Hobbit crossover now, because Sam is totally going to be the burglar here.
Totally. He's going to steal the magical artifact. And yeah, totally. That makes a lot.
Burgle something. So our last question is, how will Sam leave Old Town? Like we said, he's clearly can't stay there forever. Needs to get back to the wall and help Jon. So how will he leave?
So as we mentioned, Euron is attacking. So Sam might flee or potentially be captured by Euron.
Right, and we have a nice quote here to sort of set the mood for you.
The Iron Men had penetrated even to the sheltered waters of Whispering Sound. Come morning, as the cinnamon wind continued toward Old Town, she began to bump up against corpses drifting down to sea. Some of the bodies carried complements of crows who rose into the air, complaining noisily when the swan ship disturbed their grotesquely swollen rafts. Scorched fields and burned villages appeared on the banks, and the shallows and sandbars were strewn with shattered ships. Mercanters and fishing boats were the most common, but they saw abandoned longships too, and the wreckage of 2 big dromons. One had been burned down to the waterline, whilst the other had a gaping splintered hole in her side where her hull had been rammed. Battle here, said Zondo. Not so long. Who would be so mad as to raid this close to Old Town? Zondo pointed at a half-sunken longship in the shallows. The remnants of a banner drooped from her stern, smoke-stained and ragged. The charge was one Sam had never seen before. A red eye with a black pupil beneath a black iron crown supported by 2 crows.
Okay, so that sounds bad. There are corpses bobbing around in the bay, Euron's banners hanging around, there are broken ships. You can see that the battle is coming soon to Old Town. So
Yeah.
there you go. The vibe is set. Sam might have to leave suddenly very soon. And there's also the question of, could he even be captured by Euron?
So this is where his friendship with Leo Tyrell could potentially come in handy.
Definitely. Yeah, when there's an emergency in the city, you definitely want to be well connected to the powerful. They might have a secret way out. They might have, they'll get let through the gate when everybody else won't, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so
you get a spot on the boat when you might not otherwise.
being highborn has its uses. Like Tyrion has said before that, if it wasn't for his name, like who would he be? Just like a dwarf, basically. So there's power in a name and in the connections.
Totally.
A lot of use to that.
So, of course, as we mentioned, Sam in general has a sense of urgency to get back north anyway. And he could leave as soon as he has whatever he thinks is valuable, whether it's knowledge or stolen artifacts or whatever it is.
Yeah, because he knows the reason that Jon sent him there. So if he has something that would be useful to defeating the others, then his first obligation would be to that.
Yep. And another interesting parallel is I thought of Tyrion at Winterfell. He managed to wrangle a couple of very old books, one of which was about dragons, out of the library, and then the library was burned shortly afterwards. So this seems like we might get something similar here with Sam saving whatever is important from the Citadel before the whole thing could get burned. It could be a Library of Alexandria type deal.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think that's probably where it's going. I see him like saving it at the last minute, and then all the other knowledge is lost, and it's really sad and tragic, and that's the deal.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
And then the last question about him leaving is Horn Hill, because he was actually planning on taking Gilly to Horn Hill. So there's a couple lines here. One, he's thinking, it says, it made him wonder if even Horn Hill was truly safe. And this is right after he saw, all the ships in the bay, and he sees some corpses, ships in the hub. Okay, never mind, cut that. Yeah. And then the last question is Horn Hill. So Sam was actually planning on going by Horn Hill. And we've got a couple quotes about that. I'll just skim through real quick. It says, it made him wonder if even Horn Hill was truly safe. And that's after seeing all the corpses and the ships in the harbor that were, lingering in Whispering Sound. So It says the Tarly lands lay inland amongst thickly wooded foothills 100 leagues northeast of Old Town and a long way from any coast. They should be well beyond the reach of Iron Men and longships, even with his lord father off fighting in the Riverlands and the castle lightly held. And then he debates about it some more. And he thinks, yes, it has to be Horn Hill. Sam finally decided, once we reach Old Town, I'll hire a wagon and some horses and take her there myself. That way he could make certain of the castle and its garrison. And if any part of what he saw or heard gave him pause, he could just turn around and bring Gilly back to Old Town. So this is before he ran into Marwyn. Yeah. But, Sam is planning on going by. The foreshadowing is there.
For sure. We'll see it. But that's the thing. Nowhere is safe, I mean. So I think maybe we'll see. We'll see if she continues on the journey with him wherever he goes, or if she stays.
Wouldn't it be interesting if Sam was fleeing Old Town because it was attacked? It's being burned. What if he goes through Horn Hill and sees his dad, but now he's like got an excuse to like talk business. He's like, yeah, Old Town just got burned. The army is coming. You need to flee. You know, like that's a whole different vibe for Sam to roll up and like have news and a plan of action and like here's what's going on, and like, you know, he
could potentially show his dad a different side of himself and maybe gain some respect from his dad. I mean, it's a long shot, but maybe, yeah.
Because we don't have time for anything like what was in the books where Gilly and Sam go there and they have an embarrassing, awkward dinner and all that stuff. Like,
no,
there's not time for that. Like, I don't think.
Once the Citadel is burning, there's not going to be time to sit down and have chats and have dinner. No, it's go from that point.
Yep. So there you go, folks. There are a lot of options here. There's, you know, Sam is a character we all love. He's been tromping around, you know, in the frozen lands for books and books. I'm kind of happy for him, at least, that he's out of the cold for a little bit. Yeah. And I hope he's going to do some cool stuff in the Citadel. I love book stealing, anything about stealing stuff from libraries. And like, I mean, come on, I'm happy.
You know, here's the deal. There have been multiple times throughout the series where they referred to Sam as a wizard. He's like, I want to become a wizard. Gilly said something about him being a wizard. And I just think it'll be really cool if he goes to the Citadel, gets some magic stuff, and then we got Wizard Sam. That would just be too cool for me, and I want to see it happen.
He will. He'll have to like disguise himself as a wizard, or like he'll wear a pointy cap. George will give us something, I'm sure. Yeah. So.
Yes.
So there you go, guys. The whole dedicated Sam Winds of Winter episode, and we'll see you next time for another most anticipated plotline of Winds of Winter. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Peace, guys.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and we hope you enjoyed this very special episode of Winds of Winter Predictions. Click the link in the description to check out the full playlist.